Hello, KP. I've been thinking about your question and I actually took a little nap on it. And then I came and I started digging into some stats. And before you say anything, yeah, I got a haircut. I decided that it's time for a summer cut and I want nothing to have to mess with. So Sam and me got buzz cuts yesterday. So there you go. All right, so let me share something with you. I went ahead and started dove into the numbers a little bit. And so here's what you asked me, basically what are three things that you could work on and what's something that you're excelling at, or I think you said, what do you excel at? And I think there's things that you have a lot of talent in that you're not excelling at right now. But here's some numbers. So here's Fullerton, and I basically just to have something to compare to, I kind of put Newport numbers up here, Southland numbers up here, and then Anaheim numbers up here. Newport, because you're in the same training with these guys. Anaheim, because your demographic is going to be really similar to the Anaheim demographic in a lot of ways. So here's how many recruits you have: 10. Okay. 45 is Newport, 36 is Anaheim. Neither of those is like crushing the world, but those are, decent numbers for basically the first 3 months. It's 3 months worth. CPO for your new recruits, you got $2,800 CPO. It's 289 productivity. So that's the first thing I pointed out, was that your PPR. So when we have that, we got to figure out, well, what do we think is causing that PPR or lack of? And usually it just boils down to either in training, but just attention. Focus, time, and attention with reps, giving them the kind of attention that they need. The amount of contact that they need. And I mean, if I had to point out something, even because I'm not with you all the time, it's hard for me to know. I would say that just not being dedicated enough to the people's success. And look, I mean, Newport's only at 770, but it's almost triple. Not quite triple, actually more than double though. Anaheim or Southland as an average is, not that fantastic. But certainly, if you just change, it's not quite double, but it's obviously a lot bigger number. And then you've got, Anaheim, which is, similar demographic. It's just because Jason had about a month or so where he was just highly motivated. He was just spending way more time engaging with the reps. I mean, it's bottom line. I didn't put Callista's up here because hers are, going to be the outlier in Southland right now. Anyway, your overall CPO is this. That's because Claire had some CPO, you had some CPO, just trying to make it look a little bit better. But it's got a lot of work to do there. PRs only 30%. That's the second place I'd say you need to really have an improvement. 67%. In fact, 50% or higher is what it ought to be. The fact that the division's only at 32 gives me much pain. Right. And of course, that includes Doug and Edson and Ron, who basically weren't doing much of anything and thus have closed. So anyway, 50% is the number. Even this is lower than it ought to be. So that would be an area of focus, an area to improve. And this doesn't include social media. So when you include social media and PRs, it should be over 50%. For sure. PPR, look at higher, right at the region or division average. Interestingly enough, Newport and Anaheim are both a little lower than the division average here for productivity. You're, right. I mean, that's basically the same. You had 90 people show to interview. I decided to look at your recruiting stats a little bit, see if I could glean anything. 90 people showed to interview, 21 accepted. That's 23% of the people that showed up to interview were accepted. That's too low. Okay. 45% for Newport, Southland, 45%. I really thought, 50 to 60 is where most of these numbers would be. I see Anaheim is at a little over 60%. That's probably an area where we got a lot of work to do. I didn't look at Callista's and see what hers is. Callista's going to actually be given her first division or regional talk at SMC. Her recruiting efficiency is second only to Jason in the region. Okay. Believe it or not, this is, I think, the highest in the region, some of the highest overall efficiency rates. So your show to launch, So from people showed to interview to launch. So that's 9, 90 people, 10 launched. So it takes 9 people to show to an interview when you're launching one. Whereas Newport's at 6.3, Southland as a whole is at 6.9, just a little too high. And Jason, basically Anaheim, is at 4.2. You're accepted to launch. If you wanted to say, what are you doing the best at? Well, this was actually the number that you did the best at. Is once you had them, sorry about that. Once you had them accepted for training, and then getting them out the door, fairly efficient on that. Okay. 2.8 is good. So all in all, would we love it to be under 2? Sure. Yeah, no doubt. But in a virtual world, we're just, there's no barrier to show up. I think around 2 is pretty good. So anyway, those are just what the numbers say. And that's all I can really give you, since I'm not with you. I don't get to observe you doing work, so it's hard to say. I'm not even with you during training, so I think you could ask Hayes, just say, hey, be really open about it and tell me what you observe. If you have any observations in training, he may say, well, you've been, fully engaged and doing everything right. Or he may, what he tells me is, it's hard to ever see Catherine, right? So I don't know what that means if you're not able to be at the team meetings, or your camera's off during training, or you're not in training if you don't have any people in there. I don't know what that means. But I wouldn't hesitate to be really open about it, and see if Hayes has any thoughts, since he's, you guys in the pod together. Anyway, that's my analysis. It's not, I know I'm not typing with my thumbs, but I figured this would be the best way to get all that information to you. Hopefully that's helpful. I don't know. Let me know. And we'll talk on Monday. See ya.